So we always start with something funny. So I asked Buzz to put up these shots. I just came back from New York visiting my cousin Bonnie. And this was one of those funny things that happened. And I want you to see. This is my cousin Bonnie. And you'll recognize that face. It's a Trump impersonator in front of Trump Tower. And then there's two more. We were in Central Park. Then there's the next one, Buzz. And it is, someone said, go get him, Pam. It looks like I'm going to suck him out. Punch him out. And then the other one where I'm standing with him. What is so funny about this is when I approached him under his mask from a Russian accent, he said, this is exactly what he said, I work for tips, I'm an actor, that's what I do. And I thought, this is like life mirroring life here with him. I couldn't believe it. You can take him down now. But it was funny. It was very, very funny. And someone said they let him stand in front of Trump Tower. There was a huge police presence there. And since I haven't been there, since Trump has been in office, I was amazed at, there were tanks everywhere. Huge trucks and police everywhere. And so I went to one of the policemen, and the police, that have like the double, like Mexico, like the bullets on both sides. And anyway, so I said, why is there such a major police presence here? And they said, because he just came into town, he just left. And I went, okay, so it's not always like this. So my talk is about being big and small at the same time. And there are a couple of things that made me think of this. One was something Pema Chodron, the wondrful nudist. That's the word. Pema Chodron is not a nudist. She's a Buddhist and a prolific writer and just a brilliant woman. That's the word that in her spare time she's a nudist. So anyways, I'll never forget when I went to India with my daughter, and I'm going to have Buzz put this picture up. And I was asked, and I went with Susan Seat, and I was asked to speak at the Worldwide Peace Conference. And so there's Susan and I. It's not the best snap in the world, but here we are. And I would thought that I was walking into, it's worldwide. There were so many people there speaking, and it was such an honor to even be speaking. And I thought, I'm going to meet all these people, and they're going to have huge egos, and where am I? I was feeling very small. And so then when I got up and people complimented me, most of the Indians don't speak Hindi, they speak English because of the British. So there were a lot of English-speaking people there. So you can take that photo down anytime you want. Anyway, but I got a lot of accolades. So I walked out like, all puffed up. And I walked out with Katie, my daughter, who is blonde, and she had long blonde hair. And the Indians, they just were just just entranced by her. And so everybody wanted to take snaps with her. And Susan and I and everybody go, what about us? What about us? She was young, she was, blonde, and everybody. So I went from being all puffed out to, I don't exist. There's nothing. So that we always live in these contrasts of living big and small at the same time, and to come into those moments where you're not entertaining like Ryan, and you're just all by your own self and contemplating life and who you are and how you show up. So Ernest Holmes says, prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. Life is not just something to be endured, it is to be lived in joy in a fullness without limit. I live in the faith that there is a presence and power greater than I am, that nurtures and supports me in ways I could not even imagine. I know this presence is in all. It is all-knowing and all-power, and it is always right where I am. So in thinking about this concept of living big and small at the same time, it reminds me also of an Alan Watts quote, and I believe it's called in his Watercourse book, and it says, I realize that there are two paths that the Buddhists follow that interest me. One is the way of wisdom, prana, and the other is the way of power, siddha. In the siddha way, the way of power seems to seek the indefinite pursuit of that which appears to end in a mirage. The path that appeals to me most is the way of wisdom, because it seems if we are immortal, the path of power appears to suggest we take control of everything that happens to us. It strikes me as a path to being self-condemned to eternal boredom, since we live in the world without mystery or surprise. So me too, I want to live in that world of mystery and surprise and have that brave heart that, like you did, taking off and just knowing somehow in your soul that you were going to make money on the road and supply everything through what you have come to be, and something greater than that is within you, and knowing. And you came back bigger, better, better, stronger, looking 14. So there's something to be said about all of this. So shortly after I came from India, I did find a quote from author Pema Chodron to my conundrum, and it was an answer to my conundrum. And she said, you have to learn to be big and small at the same time. Big and small at the same time. What a novel concept, I thought. Because you aren't always in your puffed up ego, and you aren't always in that, oh, what about me? And how come I can't do things? And I just want to be invisible. And there's a lot of me, I imagine there are all of us, that just want to be invisible sometimes. Maybe not all of us, but I grew up learning how to be invisible. And it was better just to not be seen or heard, just to have that equanimity in my life. And I won't tell you all the circumstances for that. I mean, I certainly wasn't abused. But there was, well, I'll just tell you, my sister was the star in the family. And someplace I learned that you never are the star. You have to make sure your sister's always the star. So I visit this concept daily as I walk through my life. I imagine, like at the World Peace Conference, after I was all puffed up, I was looking like, oh, look, I'm from America, and I just gave this wonderful talk. And what was interesting, the talk that I gave was short. It was 20 minutes, and it was on, I thought, well, what do I know most? I know about prayer treatment, so I did the 5 steps of prayer treatment. And one of the main reasons I went to India, we were there for over a month, is Patrick, my husband, who is now in the heaven world, always wanted to go to India and go to one of the wonderful festivals that only happens every 10 years in Varanasi at the Ganges. And so Katie and I went, and we snuck ashes of his in and put him in the Ganges River while we were there too. And that was another thing that was, I probably told you this story, but I'll be really brief. We're on the boat. I was doing great, and we were saying prayers, and the boat, the man who was the boy that was doing the tour was our tour guide, period, the whole time we were in Varanasi. And he obviously had a huge crush on Katie. And so Katie puts Patrick's ashes in and says something, and then all of a sudden the well just opened. I couldn't stop sobbing as I was saying how all of my good came from this association with Patrick, and I knew that I was fulfilling one of his greatest desires. And the boat, the head of the guy manning the boat said, the captain, I don't know what he was, it was just us, but he says, "Stop your crying." He said, "Women aren't as pretty when they cry." And it brought me back to reality, which was hilarious. But what he was really saying is, I can't take your pain. And I knew that at the time, but I started laughing in that moment too. So anyway, when it was much to my surprise, while I was at that conference, everybody was warm and open. They let go of their cell phones. They said their speeches. They told their stories. And it was that one-on-one connection with thousands. It really felt like that, where you're sitting around the campfire like the moth and the mouth. I meant to say the mouth that you come and you tell your stories, and it's like connecting around that campfire where you're heart to heart to heart to heart with one another, and you get one another, and there is no big or small, there just is. And so I walked away realizing that big or small doesn't exist. Who you are at every moment and how you show up is all of those things. It's all of those things at once. And so as I sat around and I listened not only to the speeches and the talks and the information, I was feeling like I had the wisdom of the elders and the wisdom of the young all at once. So I came home much more aware of how I judge myself and how my ego can swell and shrink in a matter of moments. And I laugh at the ways even now, even small comments can make me feel less than, or they can make me feel great. And I love what Pema Chodron also said about you are the sky, you are not the weather. The weather comes and goes, but you are the sky. You are that absolutely equanimity that is always there. You are the divine that never changes, never shifts. And whatever the wind, the rain, or anything else that comes, it means only that that is the passing moment for you to awaken, maybe to another part of yourself, but it's not the thing itself. And it's another story I just remembered is last week when we had like 70-mile-per-hour winds. Do you remember this? Or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. I came to my daughter's, and her house is new. My house is old. And it's, and I'm surrounded by dirt. I mean, not surrounded, I have land. It sounds like, oh. Anyway, and I came in and I said, and Katie said, what's wrong with you? And I said, we're just being blown to smithereens. And she said, really, Mom? Come back down a little. I always say, if you want to know, if you really want a reality check, just ask your kids how they see you. That's the greatest reality check you're ever going to get. So she said, really, Mom? And she goes, do you have, and there were fires all around us too. And because we live where there's so much vegetation, and it was so dry, it was 2% humidity. That was it. Were you here then? Good thing. You lucked out. That's all I can say. So when that happened, she said, Mom, do you have fire insurance? I said, yes, but I'd have to get my photos and my pictures and the animals. And she said, don't you think they'll give us some time to do that? She said, don't worry about it. And I thought it was easy for you to say. She's a little lower than I am in Camarillo. And then she has this new house where it looked just like a little breeze out there. To me, it was like a hurricane at my house. So what is real is the person who cares about an idea. That is what I am. I care about an idea and I have passion. The reason I am a religious science minister was never to become a minister. Patrick and I both just wanted to learn. And we just couldn't give up learning. We wanted to know more and more and more. And then once we had our ministerial license, we thought, well, what do we do with this? And I said, this is a true story. I just sat up in bed on a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. And I said, let's go local. Let's see what's happening locally here. And I called this center and someone answered. And this is also a true story. And I said, we're doing the youth at Westlake at that point in time. We're teaching the youth. And they said, oh, good. We would love to meet you. And you could be ministry of the youth here. And I walked in, they were like, and I don't remember Pamela Bailey being here when I first walked in because I've known her forever from Westlake, from Conejo Valley, from Westlake. But I walked in and all there were like people over their 80s in here. And I said, well, Patrick, I got it wrong. What can I say? My intuition's still there. But I didn't. And the children came. And I want more children now. The children came and now those kids are in graduating from high school and going to college and things. So what is real is that I am not standing on a stage. I do have these passions about spirit divine and how it motivates and is who we are. And when we are at choice, what we can and cannot do, that we can go deeper. My cousin Bonnie is a prolific author and writer, and she's really very inspirational in many ways. And right now, she has one of the largest challenges in her entire life. From what I understand, I've only known her, we connected about 15 years ago. Her youngest daughter, Rosie, who is drop dead gorgeous, is 38, and she has a 2-year-old child, the only child she has. And Rosie was diagnosed with Huntington's. And not only is she diagnosed with Huntington's, she has all of those movements like this and like that. And they're trying so hard to get her in trials because there's a lot being done. And on top of that, she is the only one. There were 2 girls from Bonnie's that marriage from Bonnie and the girls. And her dad, she just watched her dad die from Huntington's. And it's a horrible death. And so here she has this 2-year-old and just Bonnie is always Bonnie. She's funny, she's bright, but you can tell she's much more pensive. She's much more, there's a lot on her right now. And the good part is I slipped right in because she watches her granddaughter Sophie 2 days a week, and I watch Allison 2 days a week. And there was just like that river, just like that water flow between us, even watching Sophie, because we were grandmas together too, which is really interesting to me. So keeping your feet on the ground, acknowledging the bigness of the ideas and the passion of who you are, and then just knowing that there are moments when those ideas you forget and you go back to old patterns of I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, and you forget, and you have to go back to know who you are. The most important thing Krishna said is to know who you are and to draw upon that faith, that passion, that spirituality that is so much greater than anything else that you have. It's just one of those things. So it's the preciousness of every moment, big and small, that we honor. There's a story about a woman running away from tigers. The tigers are chasing her, and she gets to a cliff and she sees a branch, and she grabs onto this branch. And then she realizes that the tigers are also below her, growling and snipping at her. And she goes, well, I'll just hang on to this branch. And then she looks up and she says that the mouse is gnawing on the branch and it's going down. But on this branch also is a strawberry. And she takes that strawberry and she savors it. And she just takes it in and savors every single moment of it, knowing that this could be the best moment of her entire life. And if we just looked at life that way, that each precious moment, each precious interaction, each precious memory and everything of when you were at your happiness and your greatest. And there's not usually standing in front of people like this. I used to be so anxious at Westlake, when I was a practitioner there. I would think about, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so intense for me. And even I worked in Hollywood for years, and I was in front of the camera, but I never liked it. I liked working behind the camera. I liked the production end of it. So it was always uncomfortable, and I used to do the things like my mother said, do I have the good underwear on when I pass out on stage? So when the ambulance comes, do I have the good clothes on and everything else? And so it's not about being just wanting. It's about something greater than I am, that I continue to strive to learn, to be in the mystery, and to get that next step that is immortal, is eternal, and will always be on that path. And I choose the path of least resistance and recognize that I am who I am in big moments and small moments, in tender moments, in all of the moments of my life. It's who I am, and I'm still in that mystery. So we remember in our small moments when feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear are giving us and bringing us down. And we remember that it's not bad news. It's awakening us to who we are. Every obstacle builds your spiritual muscle if you choose to go that way. And every obstacle also awakens you to what is needed from you that is only uniquely you, that you can bring to the plate. So everything else, all situations, difficulties, emotions, feelings, are like that weather. Let it come and go. Know that you are greater than the weather outside, the wind being blowing everything to smithereens. And when you sit in the silence, no, I'm a great believer in meditation and in the quiet. When I am in the quiet without any electronics whatsoever, and not even any music, it does something. It clears your brain. And you can go deeper than you've ever gone before. And you can recognize that oneness. And then truly, just like the Tao, life flows. And I say that the two Betty Ann bookends, and Dr. Betty Ann specifically wanted this done. Both of them did. As a matter of fact, our wonderful Reverend Betty Ann added this altar, which I just love. Thank you so much. It's so gorgeous. It just flowed. Once I said yes to it, once I recognized that it was a greater idea having this reveal itself in and through our sanctuary. It had nothing to do with me, and everything magically fell into place. It was amazing. There were gifts, including the flooring, which was a major gift from our landlord. And that happened because there was a flood. And so the flood was the obstacle, and the obstacle is what made the floor come in, which was absolutely perfect. So know with me that that nothing lasts forever, and then jump headlong into the stories that we tell ourselves and get rid of the bad ideas. Say, no, the truth is I am the sky. I am limitless. I have limitless opportunities to show up, be who I am in each and every moment. And the other way is to understand that you are as vast as the sky. You are the light of the world, the gift unto you to the world. And let your powerful light shine in and through and as you, and in all moments. And in all moments, my heart is with you. I love each and every one of you. God is the answer. And together we say, and so it is.